6 people who came face to face with nature at its most lethal. A hippo, a crocodile, a volcano, a waterfall, and every one of them lived. The last man was mauled by a grizzly bear, left for dead, and then crawled 200 miles to survive. Stay till the end for him. We start in an African river, with a man a bull hippo decided to swallow whole. Hippo opened its enormous jaws and pulled this man's whole body inside its mouth, and somehow he lived. On a calm African river, the deadliest big animal on the continent took him under twice. Paul Templar was guiding a line of kayaks down the Zambezi River when a huge bull hippo exploded out of the water and flipped one of his fellow guides into the river. As Paul reached out to help, the hippo turned on him. In an instant, everything went dark and silent. He was inside the animal's mouth, swallowed to the waist, the enormous jaws pressing down around him. Hippos are fiercely territorial, and this bull saw him as a threat in its water, so it dragged him under again and again. Another guide finally hauled him out alive. The attack cost him an arm, but he survived the creature that kills more people in Africa than lions or sharks. A hippo is 2 tons of fury. A crocodile kills a different way, by spinning you under the water. Crocodile grabbed this woman and spun her underwater 3 times, and she still got away. They call it the death roll, and almost nothing survives it. She survived it 3 times in a row. Val Plumwood was paddling a canoe alone through the wetlands of northern Australia when she noticed what looked like a floating log drifting toward her. Then the log opened its eyes. The crocodile lunged, capsized the canoe, and seized her. It dragged her down into the murky water and spun her in a violent death roll, again and again 3 times. Each roll should have been the end. But in the gap between rolls, she grabbed a branch and hauled herself up a steep, muddy bank. Then she crawled for hours through the swamp until rescuers found her, barely alive. 3 death rolls, 1 canoe, and the woman the river could not keep. Those were predators. Sometimes the water alone is the killer. A 7-year-old boy went over Niagara Falls with nothing but a thin life jacket. He fell the height of a building and came out with only a few scratches. Roger Woodward is in a small boat above the falls with his sister when the engine dies. The boat flips, and the current rips him toward the edge. There is nothing anyone can do. In his little orange life jacket, he is swept over the roaring falls and vanishes into the white mist below. Then the crew of a tour boat spot a tiny head bobbing in the river. They pull him out alive, the first person ever to go over the falls and survive with no protection at all. A waterfall is one kind of unstoppable. A volcano is another, and this one wiped out an entire city. Volcano killed 30,000 people in minutes. The one thing that saved this man was a prison cell. Everyone in his town burned. He lived because he was locked in solitary. On the island of Martinique, Ludger Silbaris is thrown in a stone cell after a brawl. The next morning, the mountain above the town erupts, and a wall of superheated ash races down on it. In seconds, the whole town is gone. But his cell has thick stone walls and one tiny grate facing away from the blast, and the killing heat just passes him by. 4 days later, rescuers digging through the ruins hear a voice. They pull him out, burned but alive, one of the only survivors of an entire city, and he ends up touring the world in a circus. Fire and water nearly took them. For this next man, it was the sun and an endless desert. This runner got lost in the desert for 9 days and drank his own urine just to stay alive. A sandstorm swallowed him whole, and when it cleared, the entire race was gone. Mauro Prosperi is leading a brutal desert ultramarathon when a sandstorm hits and blots out the world. When it clears, every dune looks identical, and he is completely lost. Day after day, he walks the wrong way, deeper into the emptiness. He shelters in an old shrine, eats raw bats to survive, and grows thin and burnt under the sun. He has walked over 100 miles off course into another country. Just as his strength fails, a nomad family spots him and pulls him back from the dead. And if the desert sounds brutal, save your disbelief for the last man and a grizzly bear. Grizzly bear ripped this man open and left him broken in the dirt. So with a shattered leg, he dragged himself 200 miles through the wild, hunting the men who left him for dead. Hugh Glass is trapping furs deep in the American frontier when he stumbles between a mother grizzly and her cubs, and she mauls him almost to death. His leg is broken and his back is clawed open. 2 men are paid to stay and bury him, but they steal his rifle and his gear and abandon him alive. He sets his own broken leg and lets maggots clean his wounds. Then, eating berries and scraps, he drags himself 200 miles over 6 weeks until he finally reaches the fort alive. If you made it all the way here, you're exactly my kind of person. Hit like, subscribe for more glitches in reality, and tell me in the comments which one you could never have survived.